Hello and welcome to my home. Today is tomato day. I'm going to transplant my tomato seedlings that I've been growing, and you've seen previous videos on how I started them indoors, how I hardened them off, and I'm going to put them now into their permanent containers. Now what I did was, while all my seedlings were hardening off, I prepared my pots ahead of time, so my pots are already done. I did a video on that as well, so check that out so you can see what type of potting mix and fertilizer that I use, although I will be using some more fertilizer today. But before we get to that, I wanted to let you know that I also have other videos on my channel. I have easy to prepare recipes, I have product reviews, and I have some meditation videos and lots of other container gardening videos as well. So come on, let's go ahead and plant those tomatoes. Today I'm featuring the Better Boy tomato plants. They're my bigger ones that I started back in February indoors. To help get the tomato plants out of this pot, I'm going to deeply water it so that I can easily separate the roots from each other. So I'm just going to take some regular water and give it a real good soaking. And let that make its way through the pot, through all the roots. Now this is, as I said, the Better Boy tomato plant. It's an indeterminate tomato plant. So tomato plants come in two varieties, and I've mentioned this in my tomato seed starting video. You have indeterminate and you have determinate. Indeterminate, like these, will produce all season long, and they'll produce until it gets frost comes around. So it's a long producing tomato type. It will get really tall, and it will have to be staked up and caged to keep it, I'm going to say, under control. So, but it's a beautiful plant, and I like I said, I can't wait. So I had to stake them up because they had gotten so leggy. Let's see if I can give you a better shot. And you'll see some stakes I got. Let's see. I got this twig I put in there. I got some other little, let's see. You can see that. I got that sticking it up right here. I got a skinny little stake sticking it up. This is a skinny little stake sticking that one up. They're kind of hard to see, but you can see the twine. I got them lightly tied around each stake so that it can stay upright and not fall over and break and harm the tomato plant. So what I need to do is I'm going to have to clip all these little ties that I have on here so that I can then get the tomato plants out. Okay, here's the last tie, and you can tell they've already flopped over. That's how well those little stakes were keeping them upright. Now here comes the tricky part. It's getting them separated. So I'm going to be very gentle. I might leave this biggest one for last and try to get these small ones out. I don't know. What do you think? Or should I just go for the big one first? Now this little one right here is right next to this big one. So I'd rather have that big one survive. So I'm going to go in very, very, very gently. And I'm using one of these grow bags. It's like a felt cottony canvas material. And I'm going to dig a real deep hole because I want to be able to plant this one probably up to here. And all this I think can get down in the ground. I keep saying ground, but you know what I mean, into the pot. So I'm going to move some of this soil out so I can get that hole deep enough. Now I'm planting it here, and then what's going to happen is the tomato plant has all these little hairs running up and down the stem, and those hairs are going to turn into roots. And tomato plants is one of those plants where you can dig it down really deep. So I'm trying to get it at least half the size into the hole if you can. So that's about right there. So I'm going to pluck off these bottom leaves that are going in the hole. It's not going to hurt the plant. Just pinch it off. So I'm doing a dry fit right now. I'm going to pour some water in the hole. Now you always want to use potting mix. And sometimes I will add, as you'll see in my previous videos, a little bit of topsoil to help stretch the potting mix. But the majority of it is going to be potting mix, which is made for pots because it's light and airy and allows good drainage, which you really need in the container. Now I'm taking a handful of fertilizer. Now really I should have put this in here before I put the tomato plant in there, but I'm just going to mix it in. And as it gets watered, that fertilizer will break down and the tomato plant will get some nutrients. The potting mix that I use also has some nutrients in it. Now you might be thinking that's a lot of fertilizer, but it's in a confined space and it needs all the nutrients it can get from this confined space. Okay, here is an example of a tomato stake. I think this one might be about 4 feet long. I'm going to stick that in there. And usually, let me point this out, tomato stakes will have a pointy end and that goes into the ground. I think I'm going to add some more soil in here. It's okay to adjust as you go, not a problem. I'm going to give it some more water. So that soil I just put on top is pretty dry. Now when you're watering your tomato plants, try not to get water on the leaves like I just did. The wetness of the leaves can sometimes encourage disease in your tomato plants, and there are different types of wilt disease, W-I-L-T types of diseases that can impact your tomato plants negatively. But I'm going to get a green little tie and tie that up, and it will grow up. So that's one plant down. I think I'm going to have about 14 tomato plants, and I'm not going to make you sit through me potting all 14 tomato plants, but that gives you an idea. And then of course you put your tomato plant label in there so you know what tomato plant it was that you planted. And that's it. So when you're planting in your pots of tomatoes and you're going to have a lot of tomato pots, a lot of pots with tomatoes, you do still need to keep them spaced apart because that will help the aeration between plants. And also, if one plant should get diseased, you don't want it being too close to your other tomato plant. So that's a tip that I have for you. So when I finish all my planting of all my seedlings, I have tomatoes, I have eggplant, I have bell peppers, and some other things to transplant that I'll show you in a later video. I'll show you how I've spaced out everything to give everything optimal opportunity to be healthy and to grow. Well, if you found that helpful, hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload a new